To what extent do you agree with the feedback we were given? I think overall we mostly agree with what was said, because the main criticism was that the ending didn't make sense, and that was a problem we had during filming, because we couldn't quite agree on what was meant to happen.
Yeah, I mean, when we were filming it, we were unsure of what was happening, and then obviously that would have meant that when translating it to the audience, it would have been difficult to do, and I think that's what we did find difficult.
Yeah.
Well, I personally liked the openness of the ending, well, initially, but now that the audience doesn't really understand,
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a failed attempt at a cliffhanger or a plot twist. It just didn't really work. Which ties in with the audience said that the narrative was unclear because they didn't understand the box. And I think that's because we didn't go into much detail explaining what it was, how it worked, and why she had it in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the box was a requirement anyway, we had to put in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was hard to kind of incorporate a box and the kind of genre we were intending to go for.
Yeah. It was meant to be like a sort of modern twist on the Greek legend, but it just didn't really work.
it didn't really follow the Greek legend either.
No, yeah. I think it got changed too much, and then in the end it just didn't make total sense. The audience also said that the nightmare scenes were their favourite parts, which I agree with.
Yeah.
I like the black and white filter. I think it gives
It breaks the film up a bit, you know, it shows that clear contrast between nightmares and what's actually happening in the film.
Yeah, and without it really wouldn't seem like a horror or a thriller.
Yeah.
Okay, so another person said that the film needed more dialogue, which I do agree with that to an extent, but at the same time trying to keep the film below 5 minutes meant it wasn't really possible to have too much speech in it.
I mean, we did put a voiceover in which we tried to help explain things more, but I do feel like dialogue would have helped explain things more, but like you said, that it needed to be below 5 minutes.
Yeah, and initially we did have a conversation in it in the library, but that scene went on for so long it completely broke up the film's narrative. It made it seem too slow for a thriller which needs to be fast-paced.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have gripped the audience. I mean, the audience would have just been sat there like waiting for the next thing to happen.
Yeah, definitely.
We've already stated that the ending needs to make sense, and we found that it was a recurrent criticism in the feedback. So what do you think could be done to address this?
We could, well, if we could go back and redo it, we could change the ending so it's more solid. So maybe, I don't know.
I think we need to explain what actually happened to Chloe, because it doesn't make any sense. Like that person appeared behind her, and then we don't know what happened. She just sort of disappeared, and it's never
she's just gone.
Yeah. And then Pandora just walks up the stairs, and that's it. That's the ending.
I think it was left too open. I think the audience were given too much control over what they thought the ending was what was going to happen in the end.
Yeah.
So obviously the audience get to make their own mind up whether or not, you know, where Chloe is. You know, they get to question what they watched within the film. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If there was anything we could change about the film in order to make it better suited to the audience, what would it be and why?
Well, we've said the ending, which, yeah.
I probably would have said more dialogue. I reckon would have made it better suited to the audience.
More characters as well, and we should also have made the two main characters a bit more developed, because we don't really know that much about them.
Yeah, should have developed like a backstory or...
Yeah.
And I feel like the horror characters that we have in, such as the creature and the clown, they're not very scary, so they don't really reflect the horror or thriller genre.
Yeah.
How big an influence on the outcome of the film was the audience feedback we received before filming?
Well, I remember one of the criticisms was that it needed more characters, and I think we did add some more because we put the clown in and I think the puppets as well, but like we've just said, it still needed more. So I suppose to a degree it did change what we were planning, but we could have taken it a step further and really sort of stuck to what they told us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing they said was that the plot wasn't that original, obviously because we based it on something else. And I think that's why we tried to change it so much from the original legend, but I think that it's
In
what
turn made it.
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if we kind of put the original legend directly in modern day instead of changing it, but
Yeah, definitely.
like,
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, based on the feedback we were giving after the screening of the film, which part of the film do we feel was most successful? I'd say the opening, probably.
yeah.
Yeah, the opening kind of has to set the pace of the film, has to set what the film's about. And I think that ours does it really well, you know, with all the, obviously the music building up tension and everything.
Yeah, it creates an effective enigma because we don't know what's going to happen. So it captures the attention of the audience and makes them want to find out what's going to happen.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Good.
But something that no one said was the music, and I really liked the music, and I felt that was really successful because it helped build a tension in it.
Yeah, I agree. But we could have had more. I know we had a lot of music in The Nightmares and we had a bit in the scene where she's in the street. But I feel like there could have been music in
Like
a few...
background music, yeah, just like
or
ambience.
more sound
and-
effects,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon that would have tied the film together more.
Yeah,
It's got that
definitely.
like constant like sound motif of.
Yeah, it would have helped to build a bit more atmosphere.
Yeah, it would have really added to the horror genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.